welcome to the first SAM schedule here in January here in Los Angeles. We are so excited for the Super Affiliate Marketing Program to launch here in Los Angeles. Thank you for all coming, for all of the guests that are here. You're in for an exciting opportunity. You guys can all grab a seat now. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here this morning, especially with everything that's going on with Evelacity. And I have the privilege to welcome our founder and our CEO, Robert Oblon, to the podium here shortly. But I really want to say how excited I am about him being a creator, a collaborator, an innovator, providing an exciting platform for all of us to grow and elevate our lives, other lives that we are affecting, and the incredible vision that he has that has brought the strategists to our team, the 3 Bs and the T, Keith Halls, John Fleming, as well as Larry Thompson and Taylor Thompson that has started Elevate Pink. We're very excited to hear more about that, Tay. Let's give it up for Taylor Thompson and starting that incredible movement. As well as John Fleming, if I haven't mentioned him. But I'm really excited to have the opportunity to have an exciting human being that I have gotten to know over the 6 months that I've been doing Evelacity as an Elepreneur, who is passionate to invest his energy in us as people. He is incredible as a leader and really takes to heart to help us grow in self-empowerment and character development, and I think it's important for all of us why we're here to elevate ourselves and the lives of others. We're all inspired by Robert Oblon, and if we can get on our feet and welcome our founder, Mr. Robert Oblon, here to our first Los Angeles SAM event. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Hello, I'm home. You guys didn't know I'm from LA? Well, now you do. Born and raised. Echo Park. How'd you know that? Echo Park. Anybody know where Echo Park is? Oh, you guys are all from LA, huh? I used to walk to Dodger Stadium. I used to live right off Sunset. But back then it was the hood. Now it's like the place to be, right? Like, because there's nowhere else to grow, so they've made it like the place to live. It's kind of a trip. I haven't been there. That's what I heard. I live in Dallas now, but hello, everybody out there. Say hi to everybody out there. There's a lot of people in LA here and thousands of people watching all over the world. But we're going to have some fun because we're about elevating happiness. But I know we have who's new, like doesn't even know who we are? Raise your hand. Who's a guest? Okay, we got a whole lot of people. Welcome. And who has not, and I know it's almost everybody in the room, who has not seen an opportunity presented by our company? It's interesting because we have become the fastest growing company in the world without a typical presentation. And some of you are going like, how'd that happen? We actually did it with, we don't even talk about, we're not even going to talk about it. What we are going to talk about is what Elepreneurs are. And Elepreneurs, it's obviously a play on words meant to mean elevated entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur, you guys all are, I'm assuming since you're here on a Saturday, you're probably an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is just someone that, is in business part-time or full-time for themselves, working from home sometimes. But entrepreneurs are also people that might drive Uber or sell stuff on Amazon, or, there's all kinds of entrepreneurial stuff out there. But we feel like we're elevated because we're doing some stuff a little bit differently and trying to elevate some things. But our primary global mission is to elevate health, wealth, and happiness. And something has happened. We're a little over a year old, and you're going to learn about our products today. And through the course of this year, actually it's been over 2.5 years we've had Elevacity from a product perspective. Elepreneurs, was born and launched last year, officially December 13th. But along the way, some interesting things started happening. We're going to talk about a lot of this today. And that is more than just elevating health, wealth, and happiness. We've been dealing, or helping, I should say, deal with or combat anxiety, depression, and I don't know if you know anybody, but I've known too many people in my life journey that have taken their own life. It's actually an epidemic. And we started studying this stuff very recently. And for those of you that have been watching this journey, you're going to see stuff right now that you've never seen before. In fact, all of you in the room have never seen these slides because they're like 24 hours new. But there's an epidemic. And it's interesting because over the last 20 years, it has continued to grow. And it's a problem. But you can see here, between 1999 and 2006, I'm talking about the U.S. right now, have had an epidemic of suicide at about 1% per 100,000 people. But it changed in 2006. In 2006 to today, it doubled. It's now about 2% per 100,000. And it's pretty bad. I don't know if you know anybody, but there's an epidemic leading to that. It's kind of what we're doing to help combat. Because when you look at the emotional negative spiral that people end up going down before they decide that they don't want to be here anymore, they go through all kinds of stuff, and all of us have been through these kind of things. How many of you have been stressed out? How many of you have been depressed? Or been through like real depression? I mean, most humans, believe it or not. Some people have depression, they don't even realize they have real like clinical depression. But what has happened over this last 20 years, you guys have heard of Big Pharma, right? You know, pharmaceutical companies basically control planet Earth right now. Trillions. And when you look at these other, there's not just depression and anxiety, there's all these other CDs and PDDs and PTSDs, and it's really tragic. So here's something interesting for Americans here in this country. I know we have other countries watching us, but in this country we have for adults, or not even adults, humans over 12 years old, about 1 in 8 in this country are experiencing or using antidepressants. 1 in 8. That's like 18% of the U.S. population. Globally, it's 300 million people. And I'm just talking about depression. I'm not talking about all the other things that people deal with when they're stressed out or have anxiety, or you guys know what I'm talking about. Some of you, you know, if we're just being honest, deal with this stuff right now, right? And so, you know, it's such a big problem that it's created this opportunity, not necessarily the way we would like it to be, but opportunity for these big pharma. Like just this one statistic, just for antidepressant drugs, just antidepressant, not counting all the other pharmaceutical drugs that you've probably heard of. You're talking about over an $11 billion industry in 2017. That's just, that's global, but that's just antidepressant. Think about that. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of business for these companies. So we have elevated the game starting today. And what I mean is we've been on this journey for elevating health, wealth, and happiness, but we feel like, and you're gonna hear some stories and testimonials today, and many of you have heard, you know, that have been on this journey with us have seen people's lives change. Many of you in the room that I'm looking at, your lives have changed being here consuming our products. But what we're continuing to evolve or elevate this business model. Today we've got sort of a new version of what pursuit of happiness is. And you can see it here. I know you guys see it on your screen live. And that's these four things. Pursuit of happiness is really about your relationships, right? Whatever that means, your significant other, love, family. You know, relationships are everything. In fact, when you study depression and anxiety and people that commit suicide, they're usually alone. They don't have very many relationships a lot of times. Your spiritual self, whatever that means to you, metaphysically, God, but, you know, that energy that, you know, whatever, again, that means to you. Emotional. Again, this all ties into why people are depressed and anxious and stressed and all the things that, you know, we go through is almost entirely based on your emotional well-being. How you feel, right? What your belief system is. You know, there's a big challenge, and this is one of my personal passions, is that people don't believe enough. They literally don't know what they don't know, and then they think this is all there is, and then again it leads to these challenges that we're talking about. And then of course there's physical, right? You know, when you feel good, your self-confidence is better. You're usually, again, we're talking about happiness and well-being, you feel better. So all these things matter. And then everything else that you might want to do in life kind of falls, you know, secondary to your well-being, right? With all these things. So I don't know if you knew this either. A lot of new people in the room. New positive psychology. Positive psychology is new. In fact, a lot of people haven't even heard of positive psychology. Usually people have only heard of psychology, right? You know, and psychology for decades and decades was really what was wrong with you, right? When you would go to your psychologist or your psychiatrist, that was psychology. That was the study of psychology. That's what people got PhDs and became psychologists in this world of psychology. But about 10 or 12 years ago, a new vernacular was born around positive psychology. And that was when they started studying, why do these people over here always succeed? And what they were discovering through neuroscience and studying what's going on in your brain is that the happier you are, the more likely you are to succeed. So we've been taught a formula, all of us, we all grew up in this country especially, we've been taught a certain formula, right? That says that you got to get a good education so that you could get a really good job, sacrifice all your time to make a bunch of money. And then what's the American dream, right? You do all that to retire and do what? But that's what happiness is supposed to be, right? I grew up in LA, like I said. I mean, I'm an American. That means my parents were divorced when I was 7. You know what I mean? Like this is not Ozzie and Harriet anymore, if you're old enough to remember. But this formula is backwards. That's what neuroscience and the study of positive psychology has now not just discovered but proven scientifically, that the happier you are, the more likely you are to succeed. So for us, that means we want to share that with you. Because there's some people right now, this is the first time you're even hearing positive psychology. Maybe even the first time you've ever heard that maybe the formula is backwards. Like the happier you are, the more likely you are to succeed in those relationships that we know you're on a pursuit of, or that we know make you happier, right? The quality of your life is virtually determined by your level of happiness. In other words, if you're really unhappy, stressed out, depressed, what is your quality of life? You've experienced this, right? And what happens when in those times when you're really happy and things are going as good as they've ever been, and you wake up and you're like, what's your quality of life during those times, right? Well, it should be that way all the time. So, positive psychology proves that the happier you are, the more likely you are to succeed. So, we have a business model that has a purpose behind it. You know, some people call that a mission. We are really bundling that into, we have a newfound purpose. And that is to elevate your state of happiness, but right now. And I'm going to tell you how that happens. But I'm not talking about going to your psychologist or your psychiatrist, because, talking about those kind of people, and if you've ever been to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, all they do really is help you figure out how to help you. Like, you still have to do it, right? There's no magic pill or potion. Actually, unfortunately, they're the ones prescribing all the pain or the meds that are keeping you in this state that, you went to them to get out of in the first place. Backwards. So we want to enlighten people of what we're talking about. This is the purpose of today and moving forward, is to enlighten everybody that you actually have a choice. Happiness is a choice. That's the other part of this positive psychology that we discovered. Not we, I'm not a positive psychologist. Sean Acor is one of our partners who is one of the most sought after positive psychologists in the world. This is what he teaches, that you have a choice. And once you understand that you have a choice, then we want to give you some tools to then, take whatever your pursuit of happiness is to the next level. And there's an opportunity attached to it, right? So, and that's why you're here today. There's an opportunity attached to it that means, well, what if you could not only elevate your state of well-being and get happier, but what if you could help other people do that, and as part of an opportunity? Like, I'm talking business. So that's what we're going to talk about. So how do we get that first line that you just saw? How do we elevate your happiness right now? Right? Forget psychologists and all that stuff. Well, what if you could consume a functional beverage or a product or a couple of products that literally within 10 or 15 minutes you could feel happier? Anybody interested in that? Is anybody interested in that? I'll make sure they can hear us around the world. How many of, since you walked in the room, have elevated your sense of well-being? Okay. It's a functional beverage. We call it coffee. And, if you've been following us, or if you follow the internet and Facebook, we're known as the happy coffee, the smart coffee. There's all these different things they call us. And we're not even a coffee company. That's the funny thing. But what's really unique about this product is the formulation, and it's one of a kind in the world. And I learned about this about 3 years ago when I got handed the opportunity to take it to market. I learned for the first time a new word called nootropics. And I had never heard of nootropics before. And nootropics, just so you know, are like caffeine, other natural botanical stimulants. So everything we have is natural and botanical, but there's these other plants and herbs on the planet that can make you feel a certain way. So those are called nootropics. Like, how many of you like chocolate? I'm a chocoholic. I know Larry is. Or cacao, right, is where chocolate comes from. Well, cacao is a nootropic. And what some nootropics do is they make you feel a certain way when you ingest them. How many of you have heard of comfort foods? Up until 3 years ago, I did not know what comfort food really meant. Like, I bet you some of you don't even know. So I learned this 3 years ago because I was talking to the formulator, Kevin, and he introduced me to nootropics, and he was telling me about, we were talking about actually weight loss coffee. There's a lot of weight loss coffees out there. And we were having this conversation about weight loss coffee, and he said, Robert, the problem with weight loss coffee is that, yeah, there's some ingredients in there that will speed up your metabolism and help you burn fat or lose weight, but it doesn't address the reason you're overweight in the first place. I said, oh, okay, well, I hadn't thought of that. He said, what if we could trick your brain into believing that you ate that food? Let me go back. Comfort foods are those foods that make you feel comfortable. But what's the problem with comfort foods? They're really bad for you, right? So, and what leads to the reason that's making you feel comfortable is that most people, I don't know if you guys know this, but we just determined we're living in a high stress, anxiety-driven, depression-ridden environment. So everyone's stressed out all the time. And what happens when you're stressed out is you crave bad food because your brain's saying, I don't feel good, make me feel good. That's why they call it comfort food. So like my comfort food was, like I said, I'm a chocoholic, it was chocolate cake. Some people, it's greasy hamburgers and french fries or pasta, all those things that you know are labeled as comfort foods. But what you didn't know, maybe, is that when I was eating the chocolate cake, what the ingredients, for lack of a better way to say it, what was happening is that chocolate was sending a signal to my brain saying, I feel better again. Comfort. But the chocolate cake wasn't doing me any other good, right? Except making me feel good for a minute. And what's the worst part of stress cravings? When do they happen? Late at night, right? The worst time you're supposed to eat a cheeseburger is 11 o'clock at night. Then you go to bed guilty. But the cause and effect of that is another thing, we don't need to address, but you guys all know we have another epidemic, especially in this country, and it's a weight. We have an obesity epidemic. I saw some study a couple years ago with 44% of the U.S. population was considered obese. And if you understand obese, that means more than just fat or overweight. It's a body fat index, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, when you study why we have that problem, you can track it back to stress and stress eating and the cravings, and you're eating all the bad stuff. So going back to my conversation with Kevin, what if you could trick your brain into feeling what you feel when you eat the chocolate cake, but not have to eat the chocolate cake? That's what Elevate Coffee does. It literally, how many of you have to remember to eat when you drink Elevate? Everybody in the room, for those of you watching. We were just talking about this last night. Literally, when we came out and people started, because we were the first company in the world to release a nootropic infused coffee. And so when we launched that with Elevacity, June of 2016, we actually came into a problem. People were like, I feel so good, I have to remember to eat. Well, that's a nice problem to have, right? You still have to eat, but it's still, so what's the side effect of that? What you might think? Weight loss. So this is not a weight loss coffee. And you will hear stories and you can see stories, all kinds of people losing all kinds of weight. But that's the side effect. It's not a weight loss coffee. It's a functional beverage that's giving you other things. Besides energy, because it has caffeine, it's giving you clarity. There's the other attributes of these nootropics. Clarity and focus. People are feeling like, how many of you heard like the first or second time they drank Elevate, the first thing they do is do what? Exactly. That's the number one thing. Oh my God, I'm cleaning my house. I can't stop. So that's not clarity and focus. That's like motivation. I got it like I had that laundry room. Oh my God. So it's a unique, one-of-a-kind product. But here's the other impact and what's happening when it's tricking your brain. What your brain is doing with these nootropics, with this formula, is it's actually getting your body to promote its own dopamine and serotonin and endorphins. You guys know what your happy hormones are, right? There's another really interesting epidemic happening in our company with people just drinking Elevate. Want to know what that is? Blew my mind the first time I heard it. Now I hear it weekly. You saved my marriage. Yeah? Saved your marriage? Why? Because I was like, what? What was wrong with your marriage? No, what I learned this past year, I keep saying this year, but I know we're on the 5th of January, 2019. What I discovered through this process, or I learned, I should say, is that we have another deficit, like a disorder in men. We have a serotonin deficit. In other words, we have a bunch of grumpy old men running around. Is that what happened? He was grumpy, right? Pissed off? What are you looking at? Don't bother me. I'm watching TV. Well, give me another beer. Anybody? You can tell me the truth. It's all right. No, but we've been doing this a little while, right? I'm talking about in this direct selling business model. As we've been talking about, we've never seen or heard, you saved my marriage. Because what's happening is these people, and it's not just men that are feeling better, obviously, but men, we don't have just like low T now as we get older. It's now this serotonin thing. So you have happier people, that means they have happier relationships or happier marriages. And that's a nice thing to, this is like way better than just weight loss coffee, right? Like, okay, it's good. Some people are, losing weight, getting in shape, but I'd rather save marriages. Right? So, part 2, in what we call dose, is what we call Xanthomax. So, the reason I got into this business model, because my background is travel. I used to sell travel since the mid-90s, even in this genre of business. And I discovered on my own journey helping home-based entrepreneurs that what we actually do here in this business model, the reason you're here on a Saturday is that you're hoping that this is going to be the vehicle that's going to help you in your pursuit of happiness. That's why you're here, right? You're hoping like this is it. So when I learned that many years ago, I was marketing a non-tangible product. And I discovered the power of tangible. And we later after lunch, when we actually get a little more serious about what we do from a business perspective, maybe we'll share with why that matters. But the reason I got into this business model, someone handed me this very unique, one-of-a-kind product that had a molecule from the hops plant. You guys have all heard of hops, right? It's what we use to flavor and brew beer. Well, there's a molecule in hops called xanthol-humol. And xanthol-humol has been being studied for 10 or 15 years. And it has so many benefits to the human body, they started calling it the master molecule. It's called xanthol. If you go to xantholhumol.com, you can see all the different things that it could help you in your ecosystem of your body. All the studies, it'll take you to PubMed where you can see the studies that have been being done for well over a decade. But the big breakthrough, for me, the breakthrough was it's the only natural ingredient. Xanthol-humol comes from the hops plant. The only natural ingredient that we know of in the world that will get your body to promote its own oxytocin, which is known as the hormone of happiness or hormone of love. And the only other way you can get oxytocin is like a drug. So Xanthomax is a very unique product, one of a kind in the world. You can't buy this anywhere. You can't even really buy any derivative to get xanthol humol into your body because it's a plant-based extract. It's not water soluble, so you can't really absorb it. Well, the same formulator, our genius savant Kevin, he figured out, because he's been doing this for 38 years, he figured out how he can make almost anything, virtually anything, bioavailable. In other words, you absorb all of it through your cells into your membranes, right? That's the only way you can get nutrition into your ecosystem. Otherwise, typical vitamins, you might know this, you just kind of pee it out. You waste them. Xanthomax is one of a kind. But when you take these two things together, Elevate and Xanthomax, and by the way, we have a chocolate version called Chocolivate, which is basically the same thing as Elevate without the coffee. All the same formulation of nootropics. So Elevate or Chocolivate plus Xanthomax together, you get what we call DOSE. DOSE stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And this is the only way in the world that when you take these two things, that your body will promote all four of your happy hormones. Is that cool? We have a kind of a two-parter today. So I know there's some new people in the room. There's a lot of new people watching. So right now we're going to kind of finish off with the opportunity to participate in just at the end of the day, elevating your happiness, right? Because it's for everybody. This is not, you don't have to be an affiliate or in the business to consume the product. You're hearing all these stories of all these people that they're not in the business. They're just getting their lives changed by the product. But there's really three things that you can participate in, right? You can, for those of you that are brand new, whether you're watching or you're in the room, we have what's called the DOSE experience. But I'm not going to actually tell you about this stuff. I'm going to introduce you to one more person who is another, in this, again, direct selling business model. This is another, I would consider him a living legend, along with the other incredible team members we have, and strategists and mentors. I mean, there's so many words for these people that I am blessed to be in business with. But this gentleman was one of the original co-founders of a company that today is the 9th largest company in the world for this business model. And so he has obviously extraordinary knowledge and experience about this type of business. And he's part of the strategy team. You guys have all heard about the 3 B's, a T, and me. But, from a strategy perspective, what we're doing is strategizing the next evolution, the next elevation. That's what you've been hearing about. And that's what we're going to talk about after lunch. But before that, I want you guys to welcome up here, and all of you listening or watching on your computers, say hi. But everyone help me introduce Mr. Keith Halls.
Thank you. What an amazing story. Did that blow everybody away?
Yes.
It did me. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and Larry and I were sitting here talking and like poking each other almost, saying, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Guys, these are stories that change people's lives. A year. I want you to think about a year. A difference that a year can make. 1 year ago, we didn't exist really. I mean, we did. We were just getting started everything. For those of you who know me and have been around me, especially when you see me around my wife, you've seen a happy couple. We hold hands, we hug, we do everything. It's like we're teenagers. That's what our kids keep telling us. But 1 year ago, they weren't telling us that. We weren't together. We had decided that it was time to take a short break. Neither of us really wanted that. The love of my life was not with me. It was crushing. About a year ago, a good friend of mine that I had known started talking to me about a company. And then he started talking to me about a product that made people happy. And so a couple of his, the people that worked for him had sent me some of the product. I drink the chocolate bait, so you know. And then I started using the product. But at the time, as I kept on using the product, I said, all right, Robert, I want to come in because I'd gone to the A&MP. It's this great big convention. Everybody in the direct sales industry was talking about one thing, and it was our company, what was happening here. But as I was using that product, something must have changed because my wife and I got back together again. So all those things that she needed to change, no, I'm teasing. As my kids say, Dad, you've never been this happy your whole life. You're this nice, kind. I'm like, well,
Bring your mic up.
where did you go?
That's really
A
good.
woman stretch.
And that's what they talked to me about. So I like that. And I like that very, very much. I also like the fact of who we are and what we are becoming, because it's one thing to say that we're becoming the hottest name out there in the industry, which we are, but it's so much better to the relevance of just these stories today. People that have been going through such hard times, difficult times, emotional times, and yet from a cup of coffee and a Xanthamax, a cup of hot chocolate and a Xanthamax, can you see the lives that have changed? As I was listening to some of the members of your team, it was Kathy, right? And I thought, what if Kathy hadn't shared those products with someone? Wow, what a tragedy that would have truly been. And right over here, please remind me of your name. Melissa, what if she hadn't shared those with her friends? In all these things, and you know what? One of the things that when we've all come together, Larry, John, Taylor, Robert, myself, one of the things that we talked about was trying to make the ease of sharing the product that much easier. And so one of the things, and the reason that Robert has this slide up there right now, is getting started with our company. Gosh, how do I do it? Oh, back there. All right. Well, that makes... Oh, okay. One of the greatest things is we help create what we call the Dose Experience. Have you all seen this? The Dose Experience? Well, just a few months ago, it didn't exist. It's so exciting. You can now take this. It's only $30. The great thing about it, this isn't just attraction marketing. You do the attraction marketing. You're the nice one. You're the kind one. People want to be with you. They want to be around you. But when you have on your button that says, be happy now, ask me how, now we're getting into permission marketing, because they're going to say, why are you happy and how can I be happy? And all of a sudden now, when you open it, it's like this great big plate of happiness that you can now share somewhat. Let me get this open. Well, there we go. It's like a great big plate of happiness that you can share with your family, your friends, and your neighbors, and you need to. I know someone was talking over here saying that they had received a sample and they hadn't tried it. In a previous company I was with, and I was a distributor at that point, I can remember that I kept thinking in my mind, oh, in that company, I need to share the product with a friend of mine. I need to share the product with a friend of mine. And when I finally went and shared it with that friend of mine, she had already joined. that company because I didn't move fast enough. Guys, you've got to move fast. We are starting to grow. And so what I want everybody to do, please, by the end of the day, make sure that you have sold at least one of these to a member of your family, friends, neighbors, acquaintance, whoever it may be, because you heard those stories. You can change a life. And one of the ways you can do it is by becoming, now where did I put my clip? There we go. Of getting started with us, and probably the way that most people do get started with, they begin by becoming a customer. They try the dose experience. And you know, the interesting thing, the first time I tried it, this may sound silly, I didn't feel it. But the second time I tried it, or maybe the second, third, I can't remember, I did feel it. And I started cleaning my office. Not really. Everybody clean these homes. I mean, I have to clean something. So I started doing the laundry. I do the laundry. But for a lot of people, as they get started with the Dustin, do I just hit you, or what is it? There we go. Is by becoming a customer. If you try this, if you share this with your friends, if you're using it, if your friends, family, friends, neighbors, if they're trying it, they're going to say, I loved that experience. That experience can change my life. It can change my friends' lives. How do I get involved? And by becoming a customer for only $105 on the retail price, you can help get someone else involved. At the same time, if you share it with them and say, you know what, if I get you on a Smart Ship, think recurring purchase once a month, then that person can get a 10% discount, or they can get the dose experience, which is, again, either the coffee with the Xantha Max, or it's the chocolate with the Xantha Max for $94.50 a month. Again, by becoming a customer is one of the greatest ways to start. And I've talked to a lot of people over the last year. A lot of the, what I'll call affiliates, promoters, people use different terms, a lot of them began as customers. So if you're looking for new affiliates, everything like that, look to your strong customer base. Next, you can join the mission and come be with us. A lot of you, after trying, a lot of you will want to come and be part of our mission. You're going to want to become and be part of our cause. And when you do, one of the things, or not one of the things, the thing that you'll be able to get is what we call the VBS, or the Virtual Business System. And I'm going to open it up and show you why this package right here, in just dollar value, it's got over $500, guys, of just dollar value. Just dollar value, it's got over $500. But the ability to change lives, you can't put a price tag on that. Because in there, right here, will come 3 of the $30 dose experiences. You never know, when you share this, whomever you may share it with, if that's going to be the person whose life that's really changed. You have 3, guys. There's your start, getting ready to get started. Now, in here, it comes with a lot more. And again, a lot of these things you just can't even put a price tag. One of the gentlemen that's not with us today, he's back home with his wife who's been, she's had back problems and different things like that, Mr. John Fleming. What a wonderful, wonderful man. And if you haven't had a chance, thank you. John is, I used to laugh and tell him, because when I first got there, I would sit down and just spend an hour just talking with him. The wisdom that he has is unbelievable. And John, not only being president of Avon West. Have you ever heard of Avon? That small little quadrillion-dollar company out there? And he was president of that for many years. He left, and then he became the editor for the Direct Selling News, which was the largest publication for our industry. It's very, very famous, and John did a very, very remarkable job, and he was a good friend of Robert's. And when he saw what was happening here, like myself, like Larry and Taylor, John also, we all came in at the same time. We wanted to be a part of what's going on here. John, with all of his experience, he's helped put together this type of a magazine that you can now share with your family, friends, neighbors, whatever you may like. What I've done is in our living room, we've put it down, so now when people come over, they see our magazine and they begin to ask questions. I know some people that will take it to their office. They'll put it on their desk. Why? So when their workers, their cohorts come by, they will say, elevate. Well, what are you trying to elevate? Well, we've talked about all day, elevating happiness. That can lead you right in permission marketing with the magazine. Read the articles in here. If you haven't read the articles in here, they really are good. Go through them. It'll help you to learn a lot more about us and who we are. John and Taylor helped put together a brochure on Elevate Pink. You can't put a price tag on Elevate Pink. You can't put a price tag on the stories that you've been sharing. You can't put anything on that other than it's life-changing. And by becoming a VBS, or by buying the VBS, by becoming an affiliate, you too can be part of Elevate Pink to share your story and to help others as you see and hear their stories coming about. This brochure, though, will help explain just a little bit more about Elevate Pink. And it's been a lot of fun over the last couple of months as we've been talking. Excuse me, and Taylor's been gracious enough. She's been sharing the vision of where Elevate Pink is going. Oh my goodness, just that alone, the vision of where it's going to continue to go is amazing. So everybody would want to be involved just from that. You have your wonderful button that you're going to get. You get a product catalog, so lots of good things. Everything that you need to be in business for yourself. And starting next month, starting in February, you will also have something else to help you as you get in business for yourself, and that's called the Deductor. The Deductor is a new app that will help you to accumulate all of your receipts, all of your expenses. A lot of you now, you're starting your own business. And you know, as you start your own business, you'll have to file a tax return as you start to make money and everything like that. What the IRS is very, very concerned about is that you treat yourself as a business. If you want to be able to deduct and take certain deductions, they say you have to treat yourself like a business. And one of the biggest things that they look at is, did I gather my receipts? With Deductor, what it is with ease, it's just as easy as taking your phone. When you have a receipt, just take a picture of it and just go, wow, this is for a bottle of water that I drank when I was here at this convention. Is that deductible? Absolutely. It will accumulate it at the end of the year. When I go to my tax professional, I can download it, give it to him and her. So now all of the deductions that I would normally just throw away will be accumulated with this new app. It'll be free, all by being a member and coming and joining with us, part of the $99 kit. In addition to that, we have the app where you can share different videos, and there have been some cute videos. I don't know if we'll have the chance to be able to share those today that Robert has produced. I don't know if any of you have seen them. Highly stressed out mom, and then her husband brings her coffee, different things like that. Different ways, but by using that app, you can now share that video with you live right here in LA. What if you were trying to reach someone in Dallas, Texas? What if you're trying to reach somebody flew in from Virginia who's here today? And you can just send that short little video. They're going to love it, and then afterwards you can follow up with a call. You can take the $30 dose experience, send that to them. They're going to love the dose experience. And what will happen next? They'll go on to SmartShip, possibly even become an affiliate or promoter for you and your team. So that's all part. That's one of the biggest ways, of course, of becoming a part of who we are. It's been a fun morning. I could keep going for hours talking and talking, but I'm not. What I would like to do, though, is ask each of you to do just a couple of things. one. And I told you just a second ago. I want all of you, please, share one by the end of the day. We've got a lot of more things to do today, but that's okay. Share one by the end of the day. Call your family, friends, and neighbors. Find someone to share the dose experience with. The next thing that I want you to do is to get with the person who brought you here. Now, for those who've joined us out in TV land, my guess is you're in somebody's living room right now or their TV room, and you're watching this and you're looking at them going, how come you haven't shared this with me before? Whoever brought you here today, or if you're watching by live stream, talk with that person who invited you to watch this and say, how can I get your products? Or how can I too become a part of what we're doing? Guys, this last slide right here is what everything's about, is to be able to live that purpose-driven life. Think about that, what we've been trying to bring up in the opportunity of now becoming your own boss, to be able to set your hours. One of the things that Mr. Fleming always talks about, likes to talk about when he's here, is the gig economy. The gig economy right now, 40% of all Americans are working a second job. And they're working that second job. I was reading about it last night, and a lot of them are usually either the baby boomers or the millennials. The baby boomers are usually working that second job because they need more money in their retirement plans. The millennials are usually the exact same thing, except they're trying to retire student debt or trying to save enough money to buy a new home. Guys, that second job, but by being your own boss, with us, that's exactly what you'll be able to do. Because once you become an affiliate, and once you start to share the products with a Kathy, and she starts to buy it, then you're going to start your own stream of income. And then when she starts to share it, again, it's even more of a stream of income that you will be able to start. And it's all from something as simple as sharing. One of the things that's really good, and I love this one, build a team of like-minded people. We're all here from different walks of life, but we're all here bonded by an experience called dose. And that experience has been binding us together over the last year. It will continue to bind us together. And as it says, to create that residual income, but that experience will continue to bind us together. 1 year. What a difference. Did you know 1 year ago we just began? And sometime either this month or next month, we're going to send out our 1 millionth order. Guys, that's amazing. 1 million orders, our first year. I've been in direct sales for millions of years, and I've never heard of anything like that. I don't know, Larry, have you guys heard anything like that? Robert, you've been around? 1 million orders in a year? Well, I think it's incredible. And so, but that goes back to each and every one of you. Thank you. Thank you for spending that time, for caring enough to share it. We know that sometimes a person may try the product, and maybe they don't get the same experience that you do, but more often than not, they will. And you're going to be the mechanism of helping lots and lots and lots of people. Thank you for this morning. We're now going to take a short break. I'm grateful again for Mr. Robert Oblon. Come on up, Robert. I'm very grateful for Robert, all he's done. I'm very grateful for Taylor and taking the time and helping us with the sharing of the stories this morning. And then I'm very grateful for Larry, who you'll be able to hear from shortly. I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Keith Halls.
Okay.
Thank you. So we're about halfway through the day. For those of you watching, we're gonna take a lunch break. For those of you that are new, first time here in the room, or even watching, you heard what Keith had to say. But I want to just accentuate this last slide again of what we're really doing. You know, if this isn't entirely evident or obvious when you heard the stories that are happening. That's just the 7 or 8 that we heard in the room. That's not counting everyone else that's in the room and everyone that's watching. But the reality is, this purpose-driven business is what is transforming lives, because these incredible products that are obviously changing a lot of lives, because of our business model, you can't buy it in stores. You can't go, to a nutritional store or whatever and buy this stuff. You can only buy it through our network of affiliates. So it's a really different business model when you think about it, that we're able to change lives but as an opportunity, right? We have a purpose, and as some of you have been watching and following for a little while, we've elevated that purpose pretty dramatically today from the standpoint of combating what's going on with anxiety and depression and suicide. And that's going to become a new mantra for us. And you all, new people have the opportunity to, be a part of that purpose, be a part of the mission, and, be more than just customers of the product. You can just do that if you want, but that's what the opportunity is. And so today after lunch, we're going to talk a little bit more about that side of the business, the things that you can do to accelerate